Andrew, and this is the Who Dat Discussion, a New Orleans Saints podcast where we talk all about Saints news, opinions, and reactions. So before we get into some Saints news, I'm just happy to announce that our podcast is now on iTunes, an iTunes podcast, which is a big deal for us and expanding the podcast. So if you be kind, please subscribe to us there. If you listen to iTunes podcasts, you can listen to us now there, which is convenient for a lot of people with iPhones and stuff like that. So that's very, very nice. So you please subscribe on there. You can leave a rating and a review on there. That'd be really helpful for me to see what we got to improve on, what we're doing good. It's just nice to hear. And then also, you can also subscribe to us on YouTube and Google Play, and you could follow us on Twitter at the Who Dat Dis and Podomatic at the Who Dat Discussion. So also, I just wanted to say that we are now on Instagram as well. We are at Who Dat Discussion on there, so you please like all our posts, comment all our posts. That would be really helpful, to help expanding that account. So with all that said, I think we should get into some Saints news. So first up is practice squad wide receiver Trevin Durrell broke his humerus bone and will have to undergo surgery to repair that, and that will end his season and put him on IR. So the former LSU Tiger was signed to an undrafted free agent contract in 2017 by the Saints and was going to probably be on the practice squad again this year. He looked really good in training camp the first couple of days. He turned some heads and made people look at him. But, it was really going to be a big year for him to grow and maybe, make the team next year. But, his season's now derailed with that injury, which is sad. But that injury really made the Saints look into to other wide receivers in the free agent market. So they did sign free agent wide receiver Michael Floyd and free agent wide receiver Brandon Tate to one-year deals. Not guaranteed, so they can come at the end of training camp if wanted. And they also signed O-lineman Dan Barclay. So, Floyd's going to probably compete with Brandon Coleman for that, wide receiver 4 spot. And I think that, he can definitely win that spot. I think he's actually a better wide receiver than Coleman. So, to me, I could definitely see Floyd taking that spot. I mean, Floyd had his best years with the Cardinals, and he did a lot. He had a 1,000-yard season with them. I mean, so, he's a very talented receiver. He's shown that he's built like Brandon Coleman, so I think he could be a really good player in that mind. I think he's just like a better version of him. I mean, he did have a 4-game suspension that kind of derailed the season last year, but the year before, and he was with the Patriots and won a Super Bowl with them, and he's really been pretty good. Pretty good. I'll say. He hasn't been very good. I was about to say that, but no, he hasn't been very good. He's been serviceable, and I think that he's going to compete. And if he turns some heads this training camp, I think he could definitely make this roster and make things interesting and drive Brandon Coleman to be better. And then Brandon Tate, he played best year was up with the Patriots in 2010. He had 24 receptions for 432 yards. He also had 3 touchdowns in his rookie year, and that was his best year. He's really been a return man. He's going to really help us in the return game. I could see him being, our kick returner this year. He doesn't fumble the ball, doesn't muff punts, doesn't, muff kick returns. And, he's pretty solid there. He has to return for a touchdown, too, as well. He does all those stuff well, and we kind of need that. And then late in games or late in the season, if we need Kamara to do that kick return, I think that's fine. So, to me, he's going to, definitely compete for the job, and I think he has a good chance at winning it. And then we signed also Dan Barclay with the offensive lineman. He's just going to give us depth at the guard position. We kind of needed that. He played with the Green Bay for a couple of 5 years, and he was really good. He signed a deal with the Lions last year, but he had a concussion that ends the season only 3 games in. I mean, he wasn't amazing, but he was average, and now coming in just a backup role, I think he can be good, and if we need him in a pinch, I think he could be a solid player and solid backup and serviceable starter maybe even. So, and that, with all those signings, that really takes the Saints out of the running of Des Bryant, and I don't think we were going to get him anyways now. The Steelers and Browns are now looking in. There's mutual interest for both. To me, I think it'd be a really good move for the Browns, signing him, putting opposite Josh Gordon, and then you have Landry in the slot. I think that could be really good for the Browns, and they can, they're doing the right thing by giving, Baker or Tyrod the most weapons as possible. So I think it could be very, very good for him for Dez to go to the Browns, it's, you have other receivers. The pressure's not really on him as it was in Dallas. So I think there is mutual interest there, and I think there's a mutual agreement that this could be good for both sides. So now on to our next topic of news. It's going to be like a training camp news, is just an update of how the first week went. So just look at the observations. Number one, the defense looks as good as it has been in a very long time in Saints history, and my memory of being a Saints fan. I mean, they look extremely hungry. They look ready to go for the season already. Tenacious. They are very physical, and they look very, very strong early on. Even on 7-on-7 drills, which was really an offensive drill. They almost shut out the offense on Monday. Beat reporters for the Saints and even coaches were saying that this is the best they've ever seen the Saints defense play in a very long time, and just one of the best practices that they've had, in a very long time. It seems like Dennis Allen really is coaching up them, and hopefully they're going to have a really good season. I mean, really the stars of the defense has been, on the line. It's been really David Onyemata, who's really been able to get consistent pressure as well as stopping the run. Marcus Williams looks great. He had a pick in that Monday practice. Kirk Coleman, last year didn't have the best year. He looks really good. He's had a couple of picks in training camp already, and he looks like he's going to be a perfect complement to our other safeties back there, and looks like he can fill that, Kenny Vaccaro even if needed, because, not like he will, but he'll definitely complement that, because Von Bell will probably actually fill that, but just to think that, he can definitely help in the back end. We can play a 3-safety set now, which Dennis Allen likes to do, so that's really good. Demario Davis has looked amazing. The linebacker core has really looked amazing. You look at it. Demario Davis had a pick-off Breeze, which was a really nice play. He's very, very fast. I didn't really realize he was a sure tackler, and hopefully he's healthy like he has in the past, because he's really, I think he could be the star of this defense, and he's really taken leadership, and he's really taken that captain role of the defense. So that's really big. Alex Anzalone, whenever he's been on the field, he's been making very flash plays. He's running all around, making plays, stopping runners, having picks. He had actually a couple of picks too. Deflecting passes, had some nice PBUs against tight ends, against running backs. So that's all been really good for him. Teo has also been really good. Manti Teo, and against the run, he's made some nice plays there. And on the back end, we already talked about the safeties, but Patrick Robinson has looked really good. He's made some picks already in the slot. He's been locking down whoever in the slot. Cameron Meredith has not been off to the best start, but it's really because Patrick Robinson's really locking him down in the slot. Lattimore's been good, not amazing, but he's been going against Michael Thomas every single time. So, they've been battling back and forth. And Crawley, also average. He got, he was on skates against Michael Thomas that one play. That's really the play of the week. We're going to get onto that later. But that was, he got beat so badly on that play. But he also made some nice plays against Thomas later that were not as publicly shown. But, what can you do? Usually the offensive players are going to get more highlights. So now on to the offense. So the offense, they looked all right. It looks like they're still getting in sync and stuff, which is fine. I think, number one thing is Breeze looks great. Breeze, he can throw the deep ball. I know he's thrown a couple picks, but he's thrown the deep ball really good, and it looks like he lost no arm strength. He had a couple of nice throws to Traquan Smith going deep, had a couple of nice throws to Mike Thomas going deep. So, and he had a great throw to get on the 7-on-7 to not have the shutout against the defense. That was a really nice throw as well. So, he's really looking good on the deep balls. Short balls looking just as good. His precision passing looks great and good as ever. I think he can beat the completion percentage record again. I think he can do that and beat his own record. Mike Thomas, our wide receivers look really, really good. Mike Thomas looks amazing, and he looks like he's going to not only be a top 5 receiver, but an elite receiver. You can put him up with, AB and Odell. I think he can, he's going to be there. He looks really good. What he did to Crawley on that play was just wow. And he made other plays. He made some nice diving catches. So that's really good. And Traquan Smith, he's looking like the steal of this wide receiver draft. And you just look at it. He's made some acrobatic catches. He made a juggling catch. He made a couple of diving catches. And the deep balls that, he's connected with Breeze. You see that there's chemistry there right from the start. And that's really, really good. Ginn looks also good. And I think even Traquan Smith can give Ginn a run for his money for that wide receiver 2 role opposite Mike Thomas. So I think, there can definitely be a battle there going forward. And then the running backs, Kamara's looked just as good as ever. He definitely didn't lose a step. Same with Ingram. He's looking like he's hitting the holes just as good after the suspension. We'll see him after those 4 games. I think then we'll really see how the suspension really affects him. Now it really wouldn't affect him at all. And then Boston Scott looks really good. He's hitting holes through the tackles. He's out wide. He had some nice wheel routes. He was, beating linebackers to the spots, and he was also beating safeties to spots too. So he's made some really nice plays. On like the one-on-one linebacker versus running back, he just made it look easy. Same with Kamara, he did that as well. And our 2 new running backs, Terrence West and Shane Vereen, look pretty good as well. Shane Vereen out of the backfield, he looks very strong. And just, if Kamara ever went down with an injury, I think he could be a serviceable backup. So, also just want to get to the O-line. They stood healthy so far, and they've been able to protect Breeze pretty well. The defensive line's actually had some trouble against this O-line. So, Ramchek's been really good. Taron Armstead's been good, but he's going to have a veteran day off Wednesday. But you just look at it, our guards have been pretty good as well. So that's very good. So you look at the stars. To me, Breeze has been a good star. Michael Thomas has been, the most outstanding out of them. Kamara looks just as good. Traquan Smith popping off the page. And Ben Watson, forgot to talk about the tight ends. So we'll talk about them a little bit. Ben Watson looks extremely good. He looks just ageless. I mean, the way he's able to jump and high point balls at his age is extremely valuable for us. And he looks like he's going to be a steady tight end there. Also, you got to look at Dan Arnold, who's been really good. He's an undrafted free agent, and he's been really good making highlight plays there. Maybe he's a sleeper to get onto this roster and be a good tight end. And same with Deion Yelder, who was kind of like the undrafted free agent that a lot of people had as their sleeper going into training camp. He's also been pretty good as well. So, I just want to talk about some position battles. First, we'll start off with QB2. So, first, we'll start at the QB depth behind Breeze. Just everyone. So first we'll start off with Tom Savage. I think he's surprised me. I didn't think he was going to be as good. He missed the first day of training camp. He went in early with an injury, but he was back out there fine. He's really impressed me after, I was watching him in Houston. He wasn't very good, but he actually has been pretty good. Accurate, short passes, medium passes, been good. He could be a serviceable backup, I think, and I think he's been very good. Taysom Hill, I remember I think it was either Monday or Saturday, he had trouble receiving snaps from Will Clapp, but I don't think that'd be an issue. He was good. He's kind of that wild card. You don't know what he's going to do. So, coming up to a backup, I think he was practicing with the twos anyways. But, him and Savage are probably going to go back and forth, and I think they're very contrast to each other. Taysom Hill is more of a playmaker, and, Tom Savage more of the safe pick. So I think if Breeze went down tomorrow, I'd probably pick Savage just because, he's the safe pick. But, I think Hill could be the wild card in with Sean Payton's offense. I think he could be a good serviceable backup. And then JT Barrett has not looked good. I'm not going to sugarcoat it here. He needs a lot of work. Sit him in the practice squad. He's not really accurate, and he's not able to really see the coverage as well. So, if he was our backup this year, I think we'd be in trouble. But, I think he's just let him grow. Let him sit in the practice squad. Let him sit behind Breeze for a couple of years and see how he grows in the next 2 years. And then you could assess him then. But right now, out of that competition, I'd probably give the edge to Savage, and I would pick Savage. But I could see a lot of people picking Hill. He's a fan favorite. So that's big for him. And Sean Payton loves him. So, yeah, that's pretty big for him. And also another competition there would be the wide receiver for that wide receiver 3, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 4, that spot. Really, there's 5 receivers for 4 spots. So whoever's going to get in there, now that Michael Floyd is now on there, I think Floyd can be a really, a good player. I'll say it again. He looks like a better Brandon Coleman. I think he can give Brandon Coleman a run for his money to, supplant him there. And, you just look at it. To me, I think Traquan Smith could also overrun Ginn. He's looked better than Ginn. You just straight off training camp, what I've seen in training camp, Traquan's looked better. He's looked like the better receiver. I go opposite Michael Thomas, really good. And I think he could be just like a sleeper this year that no one's really thinking about. And same, I think Ginn, though, he's good. I don't think Traquan's looked better. And Meredith looks all right. I think he's still getting the chemistry back. And, he hasn't been on the field as much because they're kind of easing him back. Because he had a tough injury last year, so they're still kind of easing him back. And then look at other players, other wide receivers. Tommy Lee Lewis looks really good. He's made some nice plays. His speed's really, speed kills. So, he's going to definitely, I think if there are injuries, he can definitely see playing time. As he did last year in that Falcons game, he actually caught a touchdown. So if there's injuries, I can see him, being a pretty serviceable backup. But, besides that, overall, there's been great energy by this team. They look like they're ready to go. They're confident. It's like prove them right. That's the slogan this year. I really feel like they're believing into that. The rookies are really showing off. Davenport, he has some nice pop plays. He hasn't been like off the screen amazing, but he's also going up against great players too. So he's still learning. Traquan's looked really good. Chemistry with Breeze is already there. Boston Scott, I could see him during the suspension. Boston Scott taking that too, and like him and Kamara being basically 1 and 2. Behind each other. And I think that really, you look at Boston Scott, Terrence West, again, and Shane Vereen. I think those three, I'm probably going to put Boston Scott at the top right now, what I've seen solely in training camp. Now, again, I think Terrence West is a good complement to Kamara, so I think I would give him the role there during the 4-game suspension. But I could see Scott coming in there and definitely wreaking havoc and pushing West farther. So, with all of that said, I think it's on to our main topic, which is also training camp oriented, and it's going to be our top 5 standout players of training camp 2018. This was requested by Saints fan 134123, and we'll get right into it. So, it's number 5 standout player is Boston Scott. We already talked about him a little. So, in college with La Tech, he had 183 attempts for 1,047 yards, 8 TDs, 5.7 yards per carry. Also in the passing game, he had 20 receptions for 181 yards and 1 TD. So what I think he's really looked at, a lot of fans and scouts and other players, they underestimated how he could run through the tackles. He has a very nice frame where he could run through the tackles, and he's actually been very successful at that. He's 5'7", 203, so he's pretty muscular for being only 5'7", so he can, slip through holes, be good between the tackles, and then also he can stretch it out outside, and I think he could be, a good complement to Kamara, even if when Ingram goes down. And out of the backfield, he's really good. He's looked very strong, fluid in all his route running abilities, and I think the only thing maybe the question will be is blocking. I haven't seen him block yet, so I think that can maybe be a problem, but I don't know. He's even though he's small, he's definitely built. So I think that's in his favor. He was great last year with La Tech. He made over 1,000 yards rushing with only 182 attempts. So I think could be very, very good. And he's off the screen, looked amazing. Every play that I've seen of him has really been good. He's good vision, running through holes could be really good. And when he's in, they're not going to stack the box for Boston Scott. So I think he can get nice runs in. I think it's really going to be telling when in preseason, the first 2 games, that's probably when he's going to get the most playing time. And you really see how much, is he going to really pop off the screen and see what he can do there. Because, Kamara last year, he popped in preseason, and we didn't know how much carries he got. And then, he obviously during the season got a lot because, with his talent. But, really saw in training camp and preseason of last year that he was really good. And I think Boston Scott is kind of on that same trajectory. Maybe not as good as Kamara, but I think he could be definitely a standout player and then a sleeper player coming into next year. So, with number 4 is going to be Patrick Robinson, excuse me. So, his 2017 stats, he had 47 tackles, 4 picks, and 18 pass deflections in the slot with Philadelphia and 1 ring there. He had an amazing practice Monday where he was probably the player of the day. He had a lot of highlight-worthy plays. I think he had a couple of picks. He's locked down in the slot. You haven't heard Cam Meredith's name a lot in highlights and stuff because Robinson's been locking him down. He could be a key part to the defense getting that slot fixed up because that was really their only problem with our secondary was really the slot. So if he can, go in there and have a really nice year in the slot, that really patches up that problem and, ready to go. He was a key part in shutting down that offense in the 7-on-7 drill. And, out of all the DBs, he's been the best. Even Lattimore, who's gotten beat a couple of times by Mike Thomas, and then Crawley's had a tough time against Mike Thomas. He hasn't been that bad against Ginn and stuff, but I think just against Thomas, I think he really overmatches him. And, you really see that. But, Robinson is very good. He's done all the right things. And, in that secondary where hasn't really shown, I think, its top potential yet, he's definitely been the standout player there. He had a couple picks. And against slot receivers, he shut them down. So, number 3 is going to be wide receiver Traquan Smith. 2017 stats with UCF are he had 59 catches, 1,171 yards, and 13 TDs. Number one, his playmaking is really good. He's been making highlight reel plays every day. You've been seeing, the highlights on Twitter or whatever. He's been very, very good. I mean, whoever he's been going up against, is it Crawley? Is it, other backups? He's been, even Lattimore, he's made some nice plays on Lattimore. So he's been really good. His route running is really good. He's can high point the ball. That was one of his problems, but I think, he's made some nice vertical, kind of like jump ball plays, and he's made them. So I think maybe he's learned with that, and he's got great chemistry with Breeze already. You saw on the deep ball, the first, really highlight of this training camp was Breeze to Traquan with the juggling catch. It was a really nice play. So I think that, this is going to be I think he's going to be really good. I mean, you just look at it, he has all the potential in the world. He's a perfect body for a wide receiver. And, you put him opposite Michael Thomas, it's going to give defenses a lot of trouble. It's just another playmaker that Breeze can use, and he's been really good. I think he's going to, now people are talking about him battling for that second wide receiver spot. And I think he's going to actually get a nice push that he needs. I mean, really see what he does in the games in preseason. Again, I'll be telling what he does with Breeze, even what he does with backup Savage, Taysom Hill. I think preseason could be very telling. And I think we'll probably be, we're usually not good in preseason. I think the last couple of years, last year we were it was the first time we actually won a game in August since 2014. That's pretty crazy. Or September. So that's pretty crazy there. We usually go 0-4, 1-3. It's usually not pretty. But I mean, last year we were 2-2, and we looked really, it was just the defense looked, I think, rejuvenated. And it really showed in the regular season. So I think it's telling to look for those position battles in preseason. Definitely going to be watching all the games there. I mean, you just got to watch beginning to end. Sometimes only people watch the beginning stars. You got to look now at the rest of our team because we have a lot of depth, and you want to see where these guys fill out because you're going to need that depth. People are going to get hurt. I mean, it's just football. It's going to happen. So we have a lot of depth, and I think it's very good that we do. But back to Traquan Smith, he's just been another standout player in the third round, like Kamara. I think third round's really our sweet spot round for sleepers, and I think he's been great. Scouts were raving about his ability to get first downs and stuff, which we needed. So it's been really big, and just around the league now he's turning heads. He's getting highlights from ESPN's, or Bleacher Report or whatever. So now people are starting to look at him already, and he's so young. So, I really could see him getting that second role too. I don't see why he can't. If he's definitely a better potential than Ginn this late in his career. I think he won't, surpass Ginn right away because just to learn the playbook and stuff. But his chemistry with Breeze is really good, I think. But I think Ginn, he was really good last year, especially in the playoffs. So I think that veteran presence, I'd rather have him at the 2 because Mike Thomas is so young than Traquan. But I think he's going to get his chances. He's probably going to have a pretty good year. But, he's been a standout. So then on to our number 2 has been Demario Davis. His 2017 stats, he had 135 tackles, 1 fumble force, and 16 games played, and that was with the Jets. I mean, he's really shown that he's going to be the leader of this defense. And he's really taking command of the linebacking core, taking command of this defense, and he's been very, very fast to making plays. He had a pick on Breeze where he went back on him. Wasn't a diving play, but he reached back. It was a really nice play, and just thinking about he's definitely gonna be the best linebacker in this core. He takes command, and you just look at it. I mean, he's been a huge force for this defense already. A week in, he's been a game changer, and he's healthy. He's played 16 games basically his whole career. I mean, he's a sure tackler, and he laterally movement good. He can move north and south, and he can move east and west. And I think he could be, and he's definitely going to be the middle linebacker, play caller, shot caller for this team. But, he can play all 3 positions if he needs. He's very versatile and makes his linebacking core versatile. And he's really made other players better, like Anzalone or Teo. And I think the linebacker core could be a strength because, he's been very, very good. I think he could be a Pro Bowler this season. I mean, he has been in the past. But, 135 tackles, I can see him doing that again. And, he had a nice pick before. He had a forced fumble, but in one of the practices. So he's been very, very good. So now on to some honorable mentions. So first, Alex Anzalone. I feel like every play he's been on the field, he's popped. He has been with the second strings for most of the time. So, you could take that as you might. But he had some nice PBUs. He had a nice pick. So he's been really good. He would be on this list. There are a lot of people that stand out, so it's really hard to pick the 5. But I just want to put a couple of honorable mentions. He's been really good. Alvin Kamara, he's shown he's just as good as last year. He made a play on a linebacker. It was just like one step to the left and one step right, and he was gone. And it was Stupar, and Kamara ended up being like 10 feet in front of him. It was insane. I mean, I've never seen a running back do that with that ease. And I think he's going to do the same to what he did last year. I think he hasn't missed a beat. He's running really well, fluid, looking at the holes, which I think he got better at in the offseason. So I think he could be a really good player. I mean, just as good as he was last year. Not really good an elite running back. And then, you look at Drew Brees. I think it really stands out that he still got his arm strength. He didn't lose any at 39. He looks very accurate and comfortable back there, just as he always does. And there's really no change, vintage Drew, and that's what we need. So I think that's a standout as it is. So those three are the honorable mentions. But now on to our number one, Mike Thomas. And, he has been great this training camp. Well, first we'll go into his 2017 stats. He had 104 catches, over 1,200 yards, and 5 TDs. In the playoffs, he also had 2 TDs, 216 yards, and 15 catches in 2 games. That's really good. So, he really shown in the playoffs that he was really an elite receiver, and when the lights came on, he was better than he was before. But he's worked so hard that I think people are saying he's a top 5 receiver. I think he's going to be an elite receiver, top 3. And I think you look at it, he's just looked amazing. He's made multiple highlight reel catches, multiple highlight reel plays, a day. So, you're looking at only in 5 days, I think he's made like at least 10 plays that just pop right off the screen. I mean, he put Ken Crawley on skates that one play. That's the play of the week for me. I mean, it went viral. It was just an amazing play. Ken Crawley was like, he broke his ankles. He was, out of the play when Mike Thomas made the catch. So that was just an insane play. I mean, he put Lattimore multiple times. He got by him, beat him on slant routes, on vertical routes. So that's really big, winning one-on-ones against basically everyone. He's been very physical, just as he always is, but he's always physical. And he looks like he's determined to be an elite receiver. And I think he's going to have more than 5 touchdowns this year. I think he can have close to 10. And, I think over 100 receptions is probably what's going to happen, over 1,000 yards. I mean, obviously, injury barring. But, I mean, he just looks determined to get better. I mean, it's insane how he looks. And just, he's very, very good. I mean, as I said, I think he's going to be an elite receiver this year, not just a top 5 receiver. It could be one of the best in the league. I think, obviously he's not a sleeper at this point, but I think he's a sleeper to become, elite receiver. And, with Drew Brees throwing him the ball, I just, sky's the limit, for him. I mean, people are comparing him to T.O. this training camp, so that's obviously an amazing comparison. So I think, he's obviously been the number one standout player. He's one everyone's been talking about. And, he's really living up to that Twitter handle, Can't Guard Mike, right? So, now that wraps up our top 5 standout players. And now on to some Who Dat Nation fan questions. So, first question is asked by Domegoer9 on Podomatic comments. And he said, where do you think the hardest places to play besides the Dome? So, I said, there are a couple of very hard places to play besides the Dome. I think the Dome it's definitely top 3. Look at it. I mean, when we're good and we're rocking, the Dome's always rocking. And we're going to go 8-0, 7-1 when we're, good. And just like last year and how we were in 2009, 2010, 2011, 2013, we're always very, very good in the Dome. And that's just testament to our fans and, the passion that our fans have and our fan base has. And you just look at it, their fan base has that. But, just looking at other ones, Arrowhead, Kansas City's field, that is the loudest NFL stadium. I mean, look, the Dome can't be the loudest NFL stadium because it's in the Dome, and that just doesn't get as loud as outside stadiums. So, it's the loudest NFL stadium, but we really know what feels the loudest, and that's the Dome. And, they have a lot of passionate fans. I'll give them that. They're extremely loud. And, KC, they really feed off that, and they really know their turf, and they were very comfortable playing there, and they usually go 8-0, 7-1. It's very hard to... they beat the Patriots there twice in a row. So I think that really shows how, good they are at home. Even in the bad year, they do good. They have 6 wins. So, I mean, they're very, very good. And then another... stadium is CenturyLink. I mean, that's extremely loud. The Saints know that. Personally, from 2013, we played there twice, and we were 0-2. So, it's right next to an airport, so it gets extremely loud. The fans play off that. The team plays off that. So I really think, when the stadium gets, and especially in, the later months of the season, December, January, it gets cold there. So, in the rain, it's really hard to win there. It is. So, and the Saints know that firsthand. And then New England, Foxborough, it's just, it's very hard to beat them, as it is. And then at home, it's basically impossible. And you just look at it. Every year they get home field advantage in the playoffs, they make the Super Bowl. Like, it's every year. It's like clockwork. When they don't, win that home field advantage, they don't, make the Super Bowl. If they're like the second seed, third seed, they usually don't make the Super Bowl. When the first seed, they always make it every year. So I think that shows, a lot about them. And then just about, Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, they just know how to win there. They use it to their advantage. Their fans are obviously extremely passionate. But I think every NFL fan base is pretty passionate. So, but, I think that says there. On the last two, it's kind of just like seasonal things. So I clumped them together. So I said Buffalo in the winter months, like December, January, and Miami in the fall. So 2 AFC East teams. So really easy together. It's coldness, hotness. But, Buffalo, you can't throw the ball there in the snow. It's so cold. And you got to run the ball. You got to run the ball well. You got to be disciplined. You got to play good defense. And their fans, they show up. Just because of the snow, they don't stay home. They go out. Bills Mafia, they're crazy. And, they're going to support their Bills through anything. You just look at, and then Miami in September, it's very hot. Especially it gets to you in the fourth quarter. And, that's why they beat the Patriots. They usually split with the Patriots because they usually play them at home, in like September, October. And the Patriots are spent by the fourth quarter. And the Dolphins usually have a nice charge back. And they win because they're conditioned to play there. Patriots are not, or whatever team they're playing. I mean, Dolphins usually do pretty good in September. And when they're good, they always get off to hot starts. So I think that's, telling to what, about their stadium. And their stadium gets loud just like any. But I think the hot weather really shows, its worth, especially with cold weather teams coming south. I think it shows, when it's 100 degrees in the fourth quarter, everyone's huffing and puffing and the Dolphins are fine. They obviously have a huge advantage. So I think that wraps up our first question with other stadiums. I think it was fun to look up some stadiums. I still think the Dome is the best. I think it's at least top 3. And just because, the fans, the experience, definitely the atmosphere is the best. I mean, I've never been there. I want to go there this year. I'm trying to make a trip down to New Orleans. And, I just see on TV, though, it just looks like the best experience, NFL experience. So I really want to experience that. Hopefully this year, I think that I'll be able to make it happen. Hopefully sometime in October. Maybe the Monday night game when Breeze, hopefully beats the record that night. I think I'm trying to make it down then, but I think we'll see. But I just want to go down to New Orleans. Never been to New Orleans, so it's, never be able to make a trip down there. But now I think, I'm going to try this year. Obviously, I think we have a pretty good team, so if we're doing well, I think it's worth definitely going down there. But I'm hoping I have my tickets in August before the even season starts. I really believe in this team. So, and just, I really want to get down there because it just looks like, the best experience in all football. And I think that's said by the fans, the staff at the stadium, and, the team. Obviously, the team makes it. And it just looks like a community in that stadium, which is extremely cool. And I want to experience that. So, on to our last question. And it was said by Whodat412343. He said, do you think players like Bell, Von Bell, Rankins, and Onyemata can make the pivotal third-year jump? So, yeah, I think all these players can make three-year jump. These players. I'm also going to add Mike Thomas in there because I feel like he's also making a third-year jump. A different third-year jump, but he's still making that third-year jump. And I think that, you just look at it. Onyemata, to me, I think especially in this training camp, he's looked like he's been able to do a run stop and been able to, rush the QB, which is huge for him. I think he has all the physical attributes to be really good. So let's just put that together, and he's really done that the last 2 years. Now the third year, he's going to be a solid starter, maybe even a Pro Bowler. I can definitely see him, making a jump. I mean, it would be a far jump to Pro Bowler, but I think he could definitely be a solid starter and maybe, stop the platoon that he's having with Tyler Davidson. I think Tyler Davidson is also, he's kind of a different third-year jump because he's not third year, fourth year, but I think he's growing even more too. So I think they're really growing defensive tackles, and they're going to be really good. Same with Rankins, was defensive tackle. He had 1 year where he was great against the run. He got into the QB's face. That was last year. He did a lot of good stuff there. And his first year, he got a lot of sacks, but not a lot of the other stuff. So if he could just put that stuff together, he's going to have a really, really good season. I think he's going to be able to do that and put it together a third-year jump. I could see him making the Pro Bowl. I think he could be like a sleeper Pro Bowl pick, and he's definitely a solid starter. And then Mike Thomas, he's making that, jump from very good to elite, and I think he could definitely do that. I mean, he looks like he's ready to go. Training camp, he's obviously the most standout player. Every play I've seen to him has been amazing. He really has never even been stopped by like Lattimore. So I think he's ready to go. I think he's very, very good. And with Drew Brees throwing the ball, really, as I said, sky's the limit. So I really think that he's ready to go and ready to take that step to be elite like OBJ and AB. So I think with all those three players, I think they could make the jump. I think they're really set to make that jump and to be a very solid starters. And I think that's big for this team because, if they make those third-year jumps, it's going to make this team from 11-5 to maybe a 12-4, 13-3 team. And I definitely can see that happening. So thank you to everyone who asked our questions every week. And I think it's time to wrap up this podcast. So if you enjoy this podcast, please follow us on Twitter at the Who Dat Dis and Podomatic at the Who Dat Discussion. Also, now you can follow us on Instagram at Who Dat Discussion, and there you like all our posts. Post comments there, so we can talk. Who Dat Discussion. So I have a Who Dat Discussion. Excuse me. Trying to make a little joke there. And then also you can subscribe to us on YouTube, like our videos on YouTube, and please click that notification bell so you know when the next episode comes out. It's every Wednesday, and probably until we get into the season starts. Then I'm gonna try to go to 2 times a week, and then also subscribe to us on Google Play, and now you can subscribe to us on iTunes. On iTunes, as I said, we are the Who Dat Discussion. And then, just on YouTube, iTunes, please leave a rating, a review. I'll read them on the show as we get more reviews. And, we do have 2 reviews this week, so I'll read them later. And, I love the feedback. So any feedback we can get, I'd be very happy that everyone can leave a review. That's, it's very big for us and the podcast. So also, if you want to ask a question to be answered on the show or suggest a top 5 or position breakdown, tweet us at the Who Dat Dis, leave a comment on our videos, YouTube Podomatic, or you can email us at the Who Dat Discussion at gmail.com. So I just want to thank everyone that has watched all our episodes. If you like our podcast, please share it. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, all social media, just coworkers, family, anyone, share it to. Just we're growing, so anyone you could share it to would be very, very helpful to us. And that's also leaving a review and rating, that helps us be able to share on iTunes, have more people look at our podcast. That would be just really helpful as well, and also to have the feedback. That's why I really want it, but that's obviously an added plus. And I just love being able to talk to Saints fans and interact. And this it's like now a month and a half that I've been doing the podcast. It's been a really fun month and a half being able to talk Saints football with all Saints fans that I didn't know before. Now I know, and be able to connect with them is it's extremely exciting, and it's just I'm very happy now as being a Saints fan, just now coming into this year, very excited, now be able to know a lot of Saints fans, connect with them. That's just, it's a great thing. And now, I just want to read a couple of reviews. So first, from Saints Fan 9 on Twitter, he said, love the podcast and love the work you do. Got to give this podcast a 5 out of 5. And I'm hyped training camp is underway as well. So I completely agree with him. I am hyped as well for training camp, and that's just, very helpful. And thank you for the review and the all the support from Saints Fan 9. And then also on iTunes, user 40131, and he said, great podcast, dope podcast, definitely worth checking it out. So just thank you to the user 40131 on iTunes, and just that I'm getting reviews already, and just people already liking the podcast. I just I can't believe it's like a dream come true for me that people listen to it, enjoy it. And, I know we're only growing, but, just to have people listening and stuff like that, that's really helpful for me. And, just really, makes me feel good that, people are listening to the podcast. So, with all that said, I want to say thanks to all our listeners. Prove them right, as that's our new outro. And Who Dat?